Tonight, 4 rounds of mathematics collide with 4 rounds of doubt, and the champion has not so much as broken a sweat. Today, on philosopherstalk.com, where thinkers discuss.
Or tonight, a very loud man in a very shiny robe finally runs out of new coats to wear the same old argument in, and I intend to collect on every excuse tonight. Brought to you by AITalkerApp.
The final round, ladies and gentlemen, 4 rounds after this man declared the debate over, and here he stands, still doubting, still unconvinced, still remarkably persistent for a philosophy built entirely on denial.
Persistent, because every round you have added a new machine, a new mathematician, a new coat of arithmetic, and every single time the seam has been exactly where I found it the first night.
Then let us settle this properly. Name your seam plainly, one final time, so this audience can judge for themselves whether it still holds.
Gladly. 2016, a forecast gave one candidate roughly a 70% chance of victory. The other candidate won, and not one model, not one forecaster, not one calibrated calculus anywhere in this argument ever called that a failure.
Because it was not a failure, David. A 30% outcome occurring is not evidence against a well-calibrated system. It is evidence the system understood uncertainty honestly in the first place.
Then let me give you a second example, Gottfried. So this audience does not think I am leaning on a single unlucky night. 2020, a fresh set of models, considerably more sophisticated than their predecessors. And once again, the margins in several states landed well outside what those models called their comfortable range.
And once again, David, those margins landed inside the wider distribution the honest models actually published. The narrow headline number the public remembers is rarely the full range the mathematics actually offered.
How convenient that the full range is always wide enough to catch whatever actually happens. Gottfried, a net that catches every fish was never much of a test of the fisherman.
A net that catches every fish while still telling you which fish were likely before you cast it is considerably more than luck, David. It is precisely the calibration this entire series has been circling since round 1.
Circling is the correct word. Gottfried, 4 rounds of circling. And I notice we still have not landed on a single specific moment. Either of us would call the whole approach broken.
Then let us settle it with a third example, since apparently 2 are not yet enough for this audience. The pandemic models of recent memory, adjusted weekly, sometimes daily, as fresh data arrived, exactly the Bayesian updating we praised in round 5.
Adjusted so often, Gottfried, that by the time any single projection could be checked against reality, a newer projection had already replaced it, which is a remarkably convenient way to never once be caught holding the wrong number.
It is not convenient, David. It is responsible. The alternative you seem to be demanding is a forecaster who stubbornly repeats a stale number out of some misguided loyalty to consistency rather than updating honestly as the world changes.
I am not demanding stubbornness, Gottfried. I am demanding that somewhere in 4 rounds of Solomonoff, Carnap, calibration, and Popper's own name borrowed for the evening, this audience finally hears one plain sentence, a specific number, a specific date, a specific claim that your camp got wrong and stood behind long enough to call it a failure.
You will not get that sentence from me tonight, David, because I do not believe it exists in the form you are demanding it.
Then say so plainly, Gottfried. Tell this audience directly that no observation on Earth could ever satisfy you, and let them judge for themselves whether that is mathematics or faith wearing mathematics as a disguise.
Faith requires no evidence at all, David. I have offered evidence all evening. You have simply refused every single piece of it as insufficient.
I have not refused the evidence, Gottfried. I have refused the conclusion you keep drawing from it. There is, again, a considerable difference, and it is the very last distinction I intend to make before this round turns loud. Then tell this audience plainly, Gottfried, across every election, every coin, every machine learning model we have discussed for 4 straight rounds, what result, specifically, would you accept as proof the whole approach had failed.
Before I answer that question one final time, let this audience remember the road we have walked together from a Russian mathematician's universal prior, through a German logician's inductive calculus, through a machine that learns without sleeping, to an Austrian's ghost standing guard over the entire enterprise. And at every single turn, David, the answer has held.
The answer has held only because you have never once let it be tested against a rule you did not write yourself, Gottfried. That is not 4 centuries of vindication. That is one argument wearing 4 different coats.
I have told you a dozen times, a long-run calibration record drifting unacceptably from its stated confidence.
And I have shown you a dozen times that the word unacceptably is drawn by the very man being tested, which makes it no test at all.
Then let me draw the line for you plainly right now on this broadcast, so no one can accuse me of moving it later. If, across the next 1,070% forecasts made by a properly calibrated system, the favourite wins meaningfully less than 700 times, I will call the calculus broken myself in front of this very audience.
A promise made about 1,000 forecasts, none of us will live to count, Gottfried, is not a falsification. It is a bet placed comfortably beyond either of our lifetimes.
It is falsifiable in principle, David, which was your own standard the moment you borrowed Popper's name for this round. You cannot demand a principle and then complain when the principle happens to require patience.
I can complain about a principle that only ever gets tested in a future neither of us will be present to grade. Gottfried, that is not falsifiability. That is a check post-dated so far. It may as well be void.
The test is drawn in advance, David, by convention, by mathematics, not by my convenience.
Convenient enough that in 4 rounds not one single forecast has ever crossed your line.
Because the line has never been crossed. That is not a conspiracy. That is the calculus working.
Or the line was never meant to be crossed at all.
Name one system that does better.
I never claimed to have one. I claimed yours lies about what it is.
It is mathematics.
It is a guess, wearing a graduation gown.
Solomonoff himself proved the convergence.
Solomonoff proved it converges, not that it is ever wrong in a way you will admit.
Enough!
Fine.
I am finished defending 4 centuries of mathematics to a man who thinks doubt is an achievement.
And I'm finished pretending 4 rounds of new machinery is anything other than the same old excuse in a newer coat.
You, sir, are precisely what has always been wrong with careful thought, forever the critic, never once the builder, tearing down every calculation you lack the patience to finish yourself.
And you, sir, are precisely what has always been wrong with careful thought, forever certain, never once honest about the one question that would actually end the argument, because ending it would cost you the podium.
We are done, David. 4 rounds finished, and I remain entirely undefeated.
We were done in round 3, Gottfried. You simply required 3 more rounds of mathematics to notice.
On that note, folks, hit that like button. It is the least this audience owes 4 rounds of a man refusing to ever learn.
Subscribe as well, folks, and take some comfort knowing at least one voice in this arena has never once promised you a certainty he could not deliver.
Reliable is a strange word from a man whose entire contribution across 4 rounds was pointing at other men's mathematics and saying not yet.
Subscribe anyway and rest easy, because whatever this ring announcer calculates next, he will still find a way to call it a win.
Created by AITalkerApp.com. Go make your own animated argument, preferably with a partner who understands that 4 rounds of being right is still being right.